Hi everybody, welcome to our first lesson. This one is our first lesson in our measurement relationships unit. So one thing it does say at the top of lesson 1, we're just going to talk about perimeter and area today. It says that you will be allowed to use the grade 9 academic formula sheet. So if we were writing EQAO, if you were writing an exam, you would be allowed to use the formula sheet for anything that you do. Here it is. I did attach it earlier to one of my notes, but I'll attach it again today. We have different formulas. One column is perimeter, one is area. We have different shapes as well. What I really like about this formula sheet though is that if you're looking at the formula and you don't know what this A is, like what is A on a trapezoid and what is B, you can look at the diagram and they show you that A would be the top length of the trapezoid, B would be the bottom. The height is the perpendicular height in here. So I really like it. On the back of the sheet, there is volume and surface area. So different formulas for each one, for each shape. And again, if you're not sure, the formula might have an S in it, and you're not sure what that is, you can look over at the diagram and you can see, oh, S is the slant height here on the side. But we're going to practice these shapes together. Slowly, we'll do kind of for volume and surface area, we'll do one shape at a time. Perimeter and area might be a little bit of a review for you from grade 8. So let's go back to our lesson. A few things. Make sure you always read the question carefully to see if you're being asked to find perimeter or area or both. So sometimes I'll ask for perimeter and someone will give me a great answer for area, but that's not what you're asked for. Always also include the formula and the correct units in your answer. So example 1, determine the perimeter and area of each figure. So when I look at my formula sheet, I want to be able to write the formula down each time. So when I look at my formula sheet, perimeter for a circle is called circumference. So we have a formula that is circumference equals either 2 pi r, or you might have another formula that is pi times d. So if it's 2 pi r, we would do 2 times pi times the radius, and the radius is 4.5. I think I like that formula for this question just because in this question I'm given the radius, the diameter is all the way across, the diameter would be 9. So I could use the formula for diameter, pi times d, but I kind of like the formula that just has radius in it. One thing I will say, if you have a scientific calculator, it's really more accurate to use your pi button on your scientific calculator. So when I type this in, because all of these terms are just side by side, it means they're all multiplied. So 2 times pi times 4.5, and I get 28 decimal 27 meters. If we were going to find the area has a different formula. So the area from your formula sheet is pi r squared. So when we sub in pi, it's 3.14, but I'd really like you to use your pi button if you have a scientific calculator at home. And then the radius is squared. Be careful there. That doesn't mean the pi is squared. It's just the radius, the 4.5 is squared. So if I didn't have a scientific calculator, I would type in 3.14 times 4.5 times 4.5. You have a squared button on a scientific calculator though, so we could just use a scientific calculator. Hopefully you have one. 63.62. And this is an area question, so the units would be meters squared when it's area. Looking at this shape, this is a rectangle, but it's a special rectangle. It's a square. So formula for perimeter, when I look at the sheet of a rectangle, the formula sheet, could use this, L plus L plus W plus W. That just means add up all of the 4 sides though. In this case, these little markings here mean that this shape has all four sides the same. So I could maybe use the formula just 4 times all of the sides, because in this case they are all the same. So 4 times 9.2, and I could add 9.2 plus 9.2 plus 9.2, that just takes too long. 36.8 meters. The area for this shape, we could just use length times width, because that is the area for a rectangle and a square as well. You might see that written as a side squared if it is a square, because each side is the same length. So I could do 9.2 times 9.2, or just 9.2 squared. And I would get 84.64 meters squared. There's one more like that. On the back of the sheet, there's a parallelogram. So you might not know what the formula is for a parallelogram, but the perimeter on the formula sheet, there is a parallelogram there. 2 times b plus c. That's the formula. So some of you might think, okay, what's b and what's c? And I don't understand. But the formula sheet shows you on the diagram that the b is the base number and the c is on the side. So I would just sub in those numbers, 2 times the base plus the side height here. So because of bed mass, I'd have to add what's inside the brackets first, and add my 16 plus 11.7, and I get 27.7. And then my answer is 55.4 meters, and that's the perimeter, or the distance around the outside of the shape. Area has a different formula, and it's just b times h. So I always want to write the formula down from my formula sheet. But again, you might be like, what is this? What's b and what's h? The formula sheet shows you that this is the height of the parallelogram. So we could do 16 times our height, 9.1. Because the letters, the variables are side by side, you know you have to multiply those two terms together. And we get 145.6 centimeters squared. Oh, it was centimeters, and I said meters over here, so that's centimeters. Okay, so again, I'm writing down the formula exactly like I see it on the formula sheet, and I'm making sure that I show units in my answer. We're just going to do perimeter and area for 2 more shapes here. And then there's a trapezoid on the last page. So again, here we could say perimeter, and if I look at my formula sheet, it's also written like this, 2L plus 2W. So hopefully that makes sense. There's 2 lengths, so if this is your length, there's 2 of those, and there's 2 widths. And in this case, because it's a rectangle, those are each the same. So there's 2 lengths, and it actually doesn't matter if I write the 3.7 first, or the 2.8 first, and then there's 2 widths. So I would want to multiply those together first and get 7.4 plus 5.6 and add it up. That's 13 centimeters. And that's the perimeter of the first shape. The area of the rectangle is just length times width. Doesn't matter which one you put first because you're going to multiply them together anyway. So when I multiply them together, I get 10.36, and it's centimeters squared because it's area. When you look at the triangle, there's different formulas for a triangle. When I look at the formula sheet for the triangle, it says the perimeter is A plus B plus C. That just means adding up all 3 sides. Maybe this is A, and this is B, and this is C. It doesn't matter which one comes first. So if I do 5.2 plus 2.5 plus 3.5, I end up with 11.2. 2 centimeters. And the area for a triangle, the formula, I just look on the formula sheet. It says it's base times height divided by 2. So the base, in this case, our base is always whatever is perpendicular to the height. Oops, there. So this is the height. This is the base. So the base would be 5.2. The height is the perpendicular height straight up and down inside the triangle would be 1.5 divided by 2. And that is 3.9. So multiply the top together, the numerator, and then divide by 2, and I get 3.9 centimeters squared. So I'm pretty happy if you're writing down the formula, you're writing down the units. Then you see this, and you might be thinking like, whoa, okay, so this is a trapezoid. Trapezoid. So in the diagram on the formula sheet, they say this is the A, and this is the B, and this is the height. And so if you're asked for perimeter, we can add up all of the sides, A plus B plus C plus D. Sometimes you might have seen teachers write side 1 plus side 2 plus side 3 plus side 4. As long as you have a formula, I'm happy. So if we start with our A, and again, these don't really have to be in this order. You're adding up 4 numbers. It doesn't matter what order you write them in. You're just adding them all up anyway. Then we divide by, oh shoot, I didn't mean to say that. Okay, so we just add up all of our numbers for perimeter. I was looking at the wrong one. And we have 33.3 centimeters. The area, so, oops, I undo that. The area for a trapezoid from your formula sheet is A plus B, and they are in brackets with an H divided by 2. So what that means is you take the top and the bottom of the trapezoid, so the 14 and the 9, and multiply it by the height of the trapezoid, which is 4.5. And then whatever that is, you divide it by 2. Just be careful though, you have to follow BEDMAS. So make sure that you add up what's inside the brackets first, and I get 23. Then I want to multiply by the 4.5 and then divide by 2. So I ended up with 51.75 centimeters squared. So one thing you'll notice down at the bottom of every lesson, as usual, there is textbook homework. But I'm wondering if your textbooks maybe aren't at home and they might be in your locker. So I'll also be careful to attach exactly what the homework is. And I will try and put red circles or red boxes around the questions that you're expected to do. So on our homepage in the LMS, I will put the homework page. I'll link to that every time. You don't have to be printing these out. You can just do these answers on line paper. You don't have to submit them to me. I will provide you with the answers the next day. It's just practicing and making sure that you're understanding what we're doing. So there's a few homework questions that you can see back on the homepage in the LMS. And good luck with those. And we'll do lesson 2 tomorrow.